WWE is losing another TV deal. We're going to talk about it in this video. We're not even in 2024 yet, my friends, but the news is hot. Don't forget, we're giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers. So if you want a chance to win, go ahead and click subscribe today. Welcome back to the Ango Show. I, of course, am Ango. I want to kick things off with an interesting debut. Scotty 2 Hotty has debuted in AEW in a dark match prior to going on the air for AEW Dynamite. Formerly known as Scotty 2 Hotty, AEW brought out Scott Taylor, and he teamed up with Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed. And look, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I find this to be fascinating for a variety of reasons. But first thing you need to know, Fightful Select has reported that Scott Taylor has actually been considered to work matches for AEW in the past, and that he has been open to performing in addition to coaching for the company. Now, the one thing that was actually really intriguing about this debut is the fact that Scotty 2 Hotty used his original Too Cool theme song. Now, the reason why this is super interesting to me is because AEW does find themselves licensing some of the music from wrestlers past, right? So we saw with the Hardys, we saw with Edge coming in, Adam Copeland. Now Scotty 2 Hotty was able to use the Too Cool theme song. Fightful Select also confirmed that AEW ended up getting rights for a whole bunch of music. Part of that list was the original Too Cool theme song. And interestingly enough, Hardcore Holly's theme song has also been retained by AEW. So it doesn't mean Hardcore Holly's going to wrestle in AEW. And to be quite honest with you, it doesn't mean that Scotty 2 Hotty will be wrestling on TV. But the fact that he worked a dark match and the fact that Tony Khan has the original Too Cool music means that if he were to appear on TV in some capacity, AEW can use his original theme song. Now, Scotty 2 Hotty was previously coaching at WWE NXT, and I want to say this was like 8 or 9 months ago, maybe a year ago. I made a video on him leaving WWE NXT. He requested his release. They granted it to him. Now he's basically doing some indie stuff here and there. If he comes into AEW, I don't know what they're going to do with him, man. I'll be honest with you. I feel like, and I think people, they really think I'm an AEW hater when I talk about how they don't need to sign everybody. But the reality is they don't. There's a lot of people who could benefit from the screen time. So this is a dark match. I don't care that he did a dark match. I have no problem with that. However, if AEW signs Scott Taylor and puts him on TV and puts him in storylines and stuff like that, that's where I'm going to be scratching my head a little bit. But if they bring him in as a coach or whatever, I have zero problem with that at all. I don't think there would be any issue with that. So nonetheless, cool for a dark match. Anything more than that, in terms of television stuff, I would not be too happy with. Guys, I want to turn our attention to Zelina Vega. According to PW Insider, Mike Johnson has reported that Zelina Vega has in fact re-signed with WWE, and the new deal that she has signed with the WWE is reportedly a multi-year contract. Now, the full terms of this new agreement were not disclosed, and WWE has not officially confirmed the signing. However, I would say based on PW Insider's track record when it comes to talent re-signing, they have hit the mark every single time. WWE and Endeavor have been looking at retaining talent, which I'm actually fascinated with. One of my big predictions was when Endeavor merged, with WWE and the UFC and they created TKO. My belief at that time was, hey, Endeavor doesn't really have a good track record of retaining talent for the UFC. That's a concern that I have for the WWE. Now WWE re-signed Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, and they're working on re-signing Cody Rhodes. Now, obviously, Zelina Vega. To me, that tells me that Endeavor is actually serious about retaining WWE talent, which I think is the right decision. I think you should never, when you have all of this great talent, you should obviously continue to keep them and try to keep them. So, obviously, that excites me to see that I was wrong. With that being said, though, one thing I don't think that's getting talked about a lot here, and it's really the premise of me talking about Zelina Vega re-signing, is how much does this decision have to do with Malachi Black? Because Aleister Black, Malachi Black, Tommy End, however you know him, he is currently working in AEW, and there's been a lot of chit-chat for the last year and a half or so that Malachi Black hasn't necessarily been happy in AEW, and potentially he wanted out of AEW. And obviously, we don't know how true those rumors are. I think the dirt sheets and everybody just talks about it, and then it kind of picks up steam. But if Zelina Vega has re-signed with the WWE, is there a chance that we see Malachi Black in WWE at some point in the future once his contract with AEW ends? And I think that's a really big, important part of this conversation, because you have to remember there are talent that are in relationships, that are married to other people in other companies. And if you have the opportunity to work with them, logistically, it just works out so much better. So in my personal opinion, I do believe that Malachi Black eventually finds his way back into the WWE. Now, at what point does that happen? I don't know. I do think Malachi Black, in my personal opinion, is world championship material for AEW. And I always thought that Malachi Black would be given a serious singles run in this company, and for some reason he hasn't been given that opportunity. I'm not necessarily sure as to why. It's definitely one of the things I scratch my head with. I've mentioned this several times. Andrade, Miro, Malachi Black, these guys should be doing so much more than they're doing, and for some reason they're not. So maybe Zelina Vega re-signing with WWE leads to Malachi Black eventually returning. And look, I saw Aleister Black in NXT. Triple H runs the main roster right now. You really can't blame me for wanting that. And that brings us to our final topic of today. WWE is losing a TV deal. TNT Sports have reportedly axed their coverage of WWE NXT. Now, keep in mind, WWE NXT has been on TNT Sports and BT Sport. Originally, it was BT Sport. It then rebranded into TNT Sports. They started in January of 2020. Now, basically, they've made the decision to move NXT off of television. And in fact, if you want to watch NXT in the UK, you have to be a member of the WWE Network, because that's where it will be airing exclusively. Now, with that being said, WWE Raw and WWE SmackDown will continue to air on TNT Sports. Now, per metro.co.uk, they've said that TNT Sports will finally have closed the doors after New Year's Evil. So on January 3rd, NXT New Year's Evil, their special episode, that will be the last one that's on TV. And then moving forward, TNT Sports will go away from NXT. And there's really no reasons cited as to why this is the decision. But I will say, WWE, while it is a very popular brand and very popular in many places, WWE hasn't always had the strongest audience in the UK. So I don't know if that maybe plays a role into it, but it is intriguing to me to see that NXT was dropped while Raw and SmackDown get to stay. With that being said, though, in America, WWE NXT is moving to the CW network, so it is what it is, right? Unfortunately for WWE, I do think, when it comes to growing that NXT brand, I feel like the UK probably would like it a lot, considering how much talent from the UK have moved over to NXT. But we'll see what happens, man. Maybe some things will change because of WWE NXT Europe will be dropping sometime soon. Maybe that plays a role into it. I don't know. But with that being said, that's another TV deal WWE has lost.